Welcome back. All right, so the third division we're going to take a look at today is the Pacific. Yeah, I made all these boards up last night. So we're going to take a look at the Pacific Division. And what's interesting, too, is that writing down the Athletic, on two different boards I put it as ATL, and on two different boards I put it as ATH. ATH works better because ATL is a division, and it might make people say, well, why would the Atlantic be up there? And the Atlantic, of course, is a publication as well. So there, I changed it to an H. It's a thinner H. It's fine. We'll just move on. So the Pacific Division is basically Vegas and everybody else at this point. Although there's only a 5-point difference between them and the team that's in second place. I don't see a situation where that team in second place probably catches them. But Vegas has been unpredictable too. Vegas, 36 games, 24-11-1, 49 points. If you take away overtime results, they're 17-11-8. Meaning, if hockey was just 60 minutes, there was no overtime. 17-11-8. And I know people say, well, they would change the way they play these games, and it's just for fun. Anyways, Money Puck gives their odds of making the playoffs at 89.8%. The Athletics far more into them at 98%. Hockey Reference says, oh yeah, and they go to 98.1%. So yeah, they have an excellent chance of making the playoffs, of course. Against the East, they're 11-5, and against the West, they're 13-6-1. So either conference, Vegas seems to do equally as well. In the month of October, they were 8-2. The month of November, they were 9-4-1. And the month of December, they've been 7-5 thus far. Now, they did win back-to-back games going into the break, which allowed them to be above 500 at home and to be above 500 for the month of December. And at home, they're 10-9. On the road, they're 14-2-1. So as I said in the video I did on Vegas's road and home records, if they can play at home the way they do on the road, and the last couple of games they kind of sort of have. So we'll see if they keep that up. LA's played 37 games. They're 19-12-6, 44 points so far in the season. If you take away overtime results, they're 13-12-12. There's a very 80s number for you, 13-12-12. That takes me back. According to Money Puck, they have a 75.9% chance of making the playoffs. The Athletic has them at 65%, which isn't as high as you would expect for a team that's in second place. And Hockey Reference has them at 67.3%. Really, the models seem to show that the Alberta teams are underperforming, but they're going to turn it around because of strength of schedule later. At home, the Kings are 10-5-2, and away from home, they're 9-7-4. So, really, with the Kings, for me, it's been consistency that's been an issue, but we'll see what they do from here on. Seattle, 32 games, 18-10-4, 40 points. And who saw that coming? They're only 21 points away from eclipsing last year's point total, and they've got 50 games left. I think they're going to get there. If you take away overtime results, they're 14-10-8 overall, so that's not bad either. 76.4% chance of making the playoffs according to Money Puck, so higher than the Kings. But the Athletic has them at a lower chance, 63% compared to 65%. However, Hockey Reference loves Seattle, 87.3% chance of them making the playoffs. And that is at the cost of, it would appear that the Oilers are the team that takes that hit with their models when they're doing their simulations. The month of October, Seattle was 4-4-2. November, 10-1-1. So far in December, they've been 4-5-1. So November was fantastic. Outside of that, they've been middling, but we'll see how it goes. At home, they're 9-6-2. And away from home, they're 9-4-2. Seattle was one, too, that was much better on the road than at home. That started to even out now that we're getting towards the half of the season. Then there's Calgary, 35 games, 16-12-7, 39 points. If you take away the overtime results, they're 13-12-10. Money Puck has them at 88.7% chance of making the playoffs, above LA and Seattle. Athletic is even more bullish on them, 92% chance of Calgary making the playoffs. Hockey Reference, not so much, 62%. So Hockey Reference doesn't see all the hype. Now, at home, Calgary's 10-6-2, and away from home, they're 6-6-5. But that 4-game road trip, that helps. They were 3-0-1 on that road trip. So that evens up their road record, something that's been a problem for them all season. And if they can keep their home record pretty solid and decent, yeah, then they'll definitely end up in a likely playoff spot. It's interesting, too, because they've played 3 more games than Seattle. They're 1 point behind Seattle, but the models show them passing Seattle for 2 of the 3 on the board here. The only one that says no is Hockey Reference. So, interesting. Edmonton, it gets interesting, too. In 35 games, they have an 18-15-2 record for 38 points. If you simplify their record, they're 16-5-4. So 16 wins compared to the 13 for Calgary, but Calgary have 10 ties compared to the 4 for Edmonton. Yeah, let's go. These teams are close. 72.1% chance of them making the playoffs of Money Puck, which is good, but it's still lower than these 4 here, and we know 5 teams in the Pacific aren't making the playoffs. 77% according to The Athletic, 54.8% according to Hockey Reference. Yeah, Hockey Reference nowhere near as interested in what's going on with the Alberta teams. It feels that LA's a better bet by a bit, and Seattle's a much better bet. So for Edmonton, they were 6-3 in the month of October, 7-7 in November, 5-5-2 in December. Very standard, even. 9-9-1 at home, and 9-6-1 away from home, which is a good road record. But again, there's just a lot of mediocrity here, and we're waiting on that big winning streak. And again, if you look at the models that say that they have a very good chance of making the playoffs, that tells you their schedule should get easier from here, same as it will for Calgary. And we might still get a first-round matchup between Calgary and Edmonton in the playoffs, because I can't see them catching Vegas. So if they were 2-3 in the division, there you go. You get the Battle of Alberta for a second year in a row. Then you have Vancouver, 33 games, 15-15-3 record, 33 points. What's interesting is they're only 5 points back of the Oilers with 2 games in hand. When you simplify their record, it gets worse. 9-15-9. Well, they love playing in overtime and shootouts right now. That's an oddity. I haven't seen that for a while. Their chances of making the playoffs, not great. So even though they've got games in hand on the teams they're chasing and they're not that far back points-wise, the models don't favor them. 3.7% according to Money Puck, 10% on The Athletic, 23.2% on Hockey Reference. So Hockey Reference really kind of evens things out. Against the East, they're 4-10-1. I could have told you that. Against the West, they're 11-5-2. So they're much better against the West than against the East. The month of October was tough, 2-5-2. We may look back and say that's what sunk their season. November, 7-6-1. In December, they're 6-4 thus far. At home, they're 6-9-1. Away from home, they're 9-6-2. So they're a team as well that could benefit from figuring out what they're doing right on the road and bring that to their home games. Then you get to San Jose, 35 games, 11-18-6, 28 points. Simplify their record, it's 8-18-9. 4.2% chance of them making the playoffs according to Money Puck, which is higher than Vancouver's. So, yeah, less than 1% chance on Athletic and 1.4% chance on Hockey Reference. So, against the East, they're 5-9-1, and against the West, they're 6-9-5. There isn't a conference they're better at, really, playing against. October, they were 3-8. November, 5-6-4. In December, 3-4-2. So they're a little bit below 500 the last couple of months. Rough October. All of it adds up to rebuilding team going through what they're going through. At home, they're 4-10-5. Away from home, they've actually got a better record at 7-8-1. So they're not winning much at home, which isn't going to encourage attendance in a building that very often this season has looked pretty empty. And I get it. I get it. Then you get to Anaheim, 35 games, 9-22-4, 22 points overall. If you simplify their record, they have 3 regulation wins. So they're 3-22-10 on the season. 0% chance of them making the playoffs according to Money Puck, a less than 1% chance on The Athletic, and a 0% chance on Hockey Reference. So that's what shows you that The Athletic is just being nice, saying a little less than 1% or less than 1%. They really mean 0. It's not going to happen. Versus the East, the Anaheim Ducks are 5-9-1. Versus the West, they're 4-13-3. They're worse against the West than against the East. October, they were 2-6-1. November, 4-9-1. December, 3-7-2. And despite all of that and how terrible that record is, there's still a chance they don't finish last overall. At home, I should say, they are 5-8-1, and on the road, they're 4-14-3. So overall, the numbers have been ugly for Anaheim, but it feels like they're trending in the right direction. And there's the possibility that if they can play the way they have the last couple of weeks, then maybe they don't stay the whole year in the cellar in this division. But would that be for the best, or would it not? So that's the question I would have with Anaheim. Would their fans want to see them win some games that might cost them a Connor Bedard or Fantilli? If it means, some more wins for the youngsters in the lineup now, or would you rather see them just lose as much as possible and get a really good chance at getting Bedard? At either rate, this is the division, of course, that gets the most hate and the most, well, I don't know about hate, the most disrespect and the most comments on how it's not good. I don't know that it's a division that's bad as much as it's a division that outside of Vegas does not have a team that looks like a really true contender. That being said, Edmonton reached the Final Four last year. They get in the playoffs this year. Anything can happen. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.